2026 is here. Well, here we are, New Year's Eve, and you're hanging out with me right here on the channel. We always try to do stuff like this where we hang out, uh, make a video. A lot of you guys want to hang out with the channel on some days like Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, all that kind of stuff. Not in that particular order, but Halloween night, So I figured it'd be a good time to kind of, sit out here, hang out a little bit. I brought out firearms to talk about because I think it's important to do that because, in a sense, I brought out what I thought was iconic movie related firearms. And I think they're, for me at least, definitely resonate something with me because of growing up with all that stuff. I'm really kind of that last ditch era of the VHS and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, Happy New Year to everyone. Appreciate that. New Year's, anytime I think of like New Year's and Christmas and stuff, I my grandpa was really instrumental in, I think, for me growing up and getting to enjoy all of those really old school family values that I think definitely got lost in translation at some point along the way. Hopefully, some families still embrace it and do it. But I was glad that my family, my grandpa was really a big part of it, keeping that alive. And when I think of like the New Year's and all that, I remember as a kid, my grandpa would sit there at the kitchen table and he was putting together the red firecrackers and stitching them all together to make this belt of these things. And he was going to take them out and hang them off this giant pole. I believe it was like a bamboo pole. You'd hang it out in the yard, way up there. This thing was just like a big old belt of firecrackers. And I remember as a kid saying, Grandpa's going to light the big pole. So that was really, I always remember that. Busting firecrackers was a really big thing for me growing up. I guess the older you get, maybe you kind of start going, maybe that's kind of stupid to be doing that. I don't know. But I did. I back then I really, as a kid, would just that was so much fun. Couldn't wait to start doing that. This year, actually, this is going to be the first year in a very long time. I actually went and I was at the grocery store and I bought this. This was like $14. I know it's kind of a rip off, but I bought it just because I thought, you know what, just in case I wanted to do something in the backyard, just in case I felt like doing something, because I definitely bought some stuff to grill. Gonna do hot dogs and hamburgers. I think everybody should do something like that. And onion rings. Oh shoot, I totally forgot to grab horseradish for my onion ring sauce. Do I have time tomorrow to stop at the grocery store before I head home? God, do I want to? Gosh, how could I forget to grab the darn horseradish sauce? I literally just remembered that. Anyway, um, obviously we're doing production of this earlier this week, uh, in preparation to get this video for you folks uploaded for hanging out New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And so, and, as we kick off 2025 six to, hopefully it's a lot better for many folks. For a lot of folks, this year has been rotten. I think it's just it's a bummer. I think people's expenses, and I noticed people are more wanting to hang on to money and do a lot less buying anything for themselves. Usually, I gotta admit, usually around this time of the year, because November and December. So November being my birthday month, and December being Christmas. Even though I don't really get off on the whole Christmas spirit too much these days, ever since my grandpa, been gone. Um, my mom, if she was here with me, we'd celebrate together. But she did come over and visit me in November, as we talked about that some shows ago. Um, but I usually use it as an excuse to buy something for myself. You guys remember last year, I bought a Model 29 6.5, my Dash 10 that I really like. By the way, I brought out the Model 29 Dash 2. Normally, I would have just brought out the 10, but I brought out the 29 Dash 2, the old vintage 1971, I believe it is, vintage. I brought this out just for Joe P, because Joe likes seeing the Model 29-2 with lint on the front sight. But yeah, there it is, the 6.5, the original wood grips with that thumb divot there. I don't know, whatever you call it. I used to call it the football. I don't even know if that's actually correct way to talk about that. But yeah, this is it. I mean, I still got it. Pin barrel, recessed cylinders. That's definitely the old vintage. So brought that out specifically because we're talking about all the movies and stuff like that. So and that one we brought out for Joe P. And actually through another, I did not go ahead and read it, or I can't remember who wrote it, but I was asked about top 10 favorite movies. And I thought about that and I said, man, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because I'd have to break that up into categories. But I said, I don't watch too much comedy. Um, I'm just not a comedy. I do like comedy. I don't dislike comedy. If I was going to listen to comedies, I would say, well, first of all, The Boys are my favorite. Three Stooges is what I'm talking about. Three Stooges are just, yeah, definitely got to throw those guys out there in a comedy section. And we're not really getting into the list here yet, but if I was going to think about some comedy stuff, Three Stooges. Obviously, I'm an Alf generation sitcom, so Alf was going to be my favorite sitcom. That was my generation. I grew up with that. I actually had my parents go and get me the Alf um, puppet from Burger King when that was out. I still have that, believe it or not. I still have that. Um, but yeah, the other comedy I would throw in there, obviously I like Airplane. Um, but the other comedy I think is a newer comedy, and it has the late great Robert Redford in it. That's, I think, flew under the radar. It's really good. It's called Walk in the Woods. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. But anyway, so when I started making the list, I said I'm gonna have to do this in two categories for sure. My favorite horror stuff, because I'm a huge horror fanatic, and I guess you could say the action drama, whatever. Um, I'm glad that when I was growing up, my parents made no bones about taking me to the theater, to go see Die Hard 2, or renting all the action movies. I grew up right around that era of when, I mean, not necessarily when they first started coming out, but certainly when they were definitely newer rentals in the store. That Jean Claude Van Damme era of all the Stallone movies, Over the Top, Rambo, Rocky, Cobra. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to list here a couple of I know I was told 10, but I had to throw in some honorable mentions in there, which we'll get to. But all right, let me see if I got this right here. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay, so we're gonna have to break this. We're gonna have to break it down here in the end. I can't get this pen out from underneath that stupid hammer. It's not a dumb hammer, but it was irritating me at the moment. All right. First up, I mean, I guess no particular order. Magnum Force. I'm often asked which is my favorite Dirty Harry movie. Magnum Force is it. Magnum Force is the best Dirty Harry movie made, period. And that's because I think John Milius wrote the thing, directed by Ted Post. Um, I think that's just, in fact, I'll show you something funny. Back when I was actually going to this indoor range, I quit going because they won't let you shoot hand loads. And I think that's a stupid policy to an indoor range, you know. But anyway, they started to inspect people's ammo. That's when I quit going. But I did this as out of just a goof. And I thought, one of these young 20-year-old kids that are gonna be working there because they just turned in the age to buy a handgun, and I was gonna mess with them. I guess it was my turn to be the old dude trying to mess with them. But anyway, I made this label for this box, and it literally is for my 44. I put a Ted Post Ammo Inc. So Ted Post Ammo Inc. ammunition, Magnum Force 44 mag, Milius Manufacturing with Warner Brothers 1973, Magnum Force, H.C. Davis and Co. So for those of you that are wondering what all that is, that's actually all the people that were involved in making Magnum Force. Ted Post is the director. John Milius is the writer. H.C. Davis and Co. I mean, obviously Harry Callahan and the motorcycle cop Davis, played by David Soul, another late Raider, right there. So anyway, I did that just for fun because I knew that there's no way they wouldn't even know what any of that is. Yeah, so yeah, I did that. All right. The other one would be the French Connection, both 1 and 2. I had to figure out a way to include more movies with just using up one spot. French Connection 1 and 2, definitely my favorites. Gene Hackman, another late great actor that we lost. Tell you, man, all the cool guys are gone. Definitely, both parts 1 and 2. You don't even need to see part 1 if you haven't seen part 2. Part 2 is entirely different. It's good. It's good in its own way. I like it. Next up, Taxi Driver, Scorsese. God, that movie's just good in all aspects. Really like that movie a lot. That's got to be one of my top movies. Another one is Extreme Prejudice. Extreme Prejudice is directed by Walter Hill. I want to say Milius might have had something to do with it. Wouldn't surprise me if he didn't, or if he did. It wouldn't surprise me, is what I'm trying to get at. Excellent movie with Nick Nolte. He carries a Commander in 1911. You really want to see some cool action with that. That's definitely a good movie to check out. I'm gonna. So let me see where I'm at. Those are 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, The Mechanic with Charlie Bronson. I'm not talking about the remake, even though I do like the remake. I'm not throwing shade at Jason Statham. He did a good job, but I like the old school stuff. El Dorado. Absolutely, probably. I was trying to think, what's my favorite Western? That was a hard one, but I came to El Dorado. I have to say El Dorado is my favorite Western. I'm not a big Western fan. That may be kind of crazy to think. What I am a fan of for Westerns because I grew up with John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. That's my like for Westerns. So that kind of hit. So yeah, I would say the El Dorado is one of my favorite Westerns. Although I like The Harder They Fall. That was a new one that they came out with. That was a Netflix special. I thought that was excellent. Just the way the story played out. It was a real throwback to those old school ones. All right. Then, keeping up with the Duke, I would have to say throwing in there McHugh and Brannigan. Both cop movies, both playing a cop with just a different name, really, because in a sense, he's just playing the same guy. He's just a hard-nosed cop. I like it. I like Brannigan because I like that call when because he's going to uh, England, and he shouldn't be wearing that particular item. So, and then McHugh is just, I mean, McHugh is crazy because, like, think of how many firearms he has in that. I mean, it literally goes from, like, he's got like two pythons in the beginning because he has to surrender what the 6 inch or the 4 inch or whatever that he's got. And then he goes in his trunk of his car and he breaks out the little snubby. And then he's got like a Model 10 Smith and Wesson. He got high power, and then he gets the Mac 10 thing. He says that's not registered. Neither am I. Um, up the next one would be The Getaway, Steve McQueen, directed by Sam Peckinpah. Excellent. No, I'm not talking about like garbage. It came out in the '90s. That's a total piece of crap. Um, this next one, which is going to be number 10, this is a hard one. Literally, pun intended, because this was a toss up between Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, or Roadhouse. I'm probably going to have to pick Roadhouse because I love Swayze. Swayze was just one of those actors, man. The guy was just, he could do anything. He's good. A lot like McQueen. McQueen could do a lot of stuff. But yeah, so honorable mentions, I guess. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, the whole series. So honorable mentions. On the honorable mention list, I'd have to put in Cobra, Death Wish, um, Rolling Thunder, They Live, Murphy's Law, Mr. Majestic, Truck Turner, Trespass, and The Hunter. I have to throw those in there as honorable mentions because I think they're all excellent films. All right. Now moving over to the horror movie side of things. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Nightmare on Elm Street. I think most of you that go back with me ways, especially when you're watching my vlogs, Nightmare on Elm Street series is my favorite. That's my favorite slasher of all of them. Is going to be Freddy. I'm a Freddy fan. Um, the other series would be Friday the 13th and Halloween. I do like those series. When it comes to Halloween, I kind of stick with the first six. I'm going to throw that one in there. Friday the 13th. For me, Kane Hodder is Jason. Kane Hodder was the first uh, Jason I've seen. Kane Hodder was the actor that portrayed Jason in Part 7, and he portrayed Jason like 3 times or more, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he portrayed Jason. I think he gave Jason that attitude, that character. So Kane Hodder, big fan of his. He is on the list of I want to go to the conventions and meet him. So yeah, that's definitely on there. Up next would be Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell. I met Bruce Campbell. He's actually really cool, really down to earth, and Evil Dead is just one of those hidden gems. I saw that on videotape, rented it. I watched it, and I couldn't believe what I just saw. I just remember being appalled by it. Just couldn't, I was like, what the heck is this? The other one would be Phantasm, the whole Phantasm series. Met Don Coscarelli, the director, another really outstanding guy. The other one would be I'm talking about both the movie and the TV show of Tales from the Crypt. The TV show from the 90s, excellent. Watched that a lot on HBO with my mom as a kid. And the way before my generation, before I was born, would be the Tales from the Crypt movie. They did a movie. I believe they're both done. It's done it as a double. Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. They're both English movies, I believe, and just excellent. The episode of the blind school, probably the best thing ever. They should have made that an entire hour and a half movie, at least, because that was so cool. That was such a great, well done. So If you haven't seen that, check that out. The original, like the old school Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror. The other one would be the Romero Dead films, George Romero. And I'm talking about Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. He did some other ones like Land of the Dead and all that, but I mean, I mainly think of like the Night, Day, and Dawn. Those are excellent originals there. All right. Let's see, one, two. All right, so we're coming down to the last three. I'm gonna throw a modern one in there because it's kind of one of those that just you once you see it, you're just like, what the hell did I just watch? And that's the movie called Mandy with Nicolas Cage. If you haven't seen that, that is the most bizarre, whacked out, crazy, insane horror movie I've ever watched. That's out there. That is really out there. I know Joe P is a Nicolas Cage fan. I think you did watch Mandy. If you haven't watched Mandy, you're in for a treat. Um, all right, last two. The original Exorcist. Still think that's one of the scariest movies ever made. I still think that. I always find that realm of things and the good versus evil type thing, The Exorcist definitely is up there. That is a hard toss up because I do like The Omen with Gregory Peck. I always thought that was interesting that Gregory Peck did a movie like that, directed by Richard Donner, another late great director. Last one on that top 10 would be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Why? That movie is brilliant. 70s, done on a shoestring budget. Excellent, excellent movie. Just instills terror. It instills grittiness, violence, and I think it puts images in your head that they're not necessarily showing you, that you come up with in your own head, in your own mind, something far worse than what they're actually showing you on TV. All right, honorable mentions. Honorable mentions would have to be a couple of Rob Zombie films, 31 and Devil's Rejects. Devil's Rejects, in all intents and purposes, I mean, Rob Zombie may not have done the best movies out there. He's done a lot of flops, but Devil's Rejects is by far just ingenious of a movie. I mean, how you even conjure up something like that? It's almost not really. It is horror, but it's a sadistic ride in a sense. I mean, it's not really. It's not necessarily scary. At least to me, it isn't. It's just twisted. 31 is just neat. At first, when I first saw 31, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of stupid. But then, like, it grew on me, and I realized it. Damn good movie, actually. And of course, Jaws. How could I forget Jaws? My grandmother's favorite movie. We wore that VHS tape out. And another one I'm going to throw in there, a modern one, Vacancy. You ever seen Vacancy? Luke Wilson. Yeah, Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson's brother. Uh, that's a good movie, Vacancy. All right, I'm going to roll down through these firearms here that I got and I brought out just for the sake of all this, just some of them you can see here, the other ones over here you can't. Uh, on the single action side, I mean, come on, this is the iconic. I mean, everybody, you've seen enough westerns to definitely know this one. Of course, obviously, I got my John Wayne yellow grips on it. This is the very first. This is the one and only on this channel. If you're a fan of my channel and you go back with me a ways, this is the infamous Rooster Shooter. Yippee-ki-yay, gotta have Brother 92. Brother 92 FS with a military magazine. This is look at that thing. The old Parkerized gray or green, whatever. Oh, look at that. It even says government use only. Uh-oh. Restricted. These are cool. Made by Checkmate. Uh, got picked these up as surplus because they were cheaper than buying the actual one there. Metal follower, metal foot plate on it. But yeah, I mean, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard. I mean, who didn't? I mean, if you watch a John Woo film, just all right. The other one for me, more so, the Colt 1911. This is Series 70 Colt 1911, old school 45 auto. Uh, I grew up with Steven Seagal. It's my grandma's hero. She used to tell me, "Don't tell your grandpa," but Steven Seagal is my hero. I know he's got a lot of these some of these people that they went cuckoo. I try not to think about that. I try not to let their personal life affect my love for the entertainment aspect of things that they did for me. And so for that, the very early Seagal films, right up to Under Siege 2, are just, I mean, they're classics. They're classics in so many ways. So, and what does he always constantly have? He's got one of these Mark IV Series 70, the old Colt slab side right there. This baby needs no introduction. Smith and Wesson Model 29 -2. You think of Dirty Harry. There's some other movies that pops up in. Doesn't Chuck Norris carry one in um, Lone Wolf McQuade? I believe he does. I believe it's a nickel one and it's engraved or something. The other movies that come up with it is like Exterminator. Um, Obviously, Taxi Driver uses one. I'm trying to think what Live and Let Die, in the end of Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. All right, and then the Colt Python 6-inch. Feel like Chuck Turner with that baby right there. So that's my new favorite revolver. I know. Oh my gosh, did I just say that in front of this baby? Yes, it has been replaced with the new Colt Python. I got to make sure I clarify that. It's got to be this new one right here. And you guys know the story of me with this thing. Got wind that they're doing it again, and when I heard that they were doing the polished blue, I had to do it. I had to buy it. I put my name on the list early on, and I was one of the I want to say that's one of the very first ones they were making. So I got it out. I got that one. Don't regret it. It's actually absolutely excellent. So, all right. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate anybody hanging out with me on this New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Depends on when you're watching this. Happy 2026. Cannot believe we're already saying that, but time has moved fast, hasn't it?